Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We have plenty to share with you today, starting with our latest protocols update, and I'm very glad to be here with our CEO and our top engineers. I guess you all know DXOMARK, but as a quick introduction, let me remind you that we've been evaluating the quality of electronic devices for the past 15 years in our 16 laboratories based near Paris, looking at 100 smartphones per year and testing them all the way from camera to battery, as well as display, audio, and selfie. At DXOMARK, we advocate for meaningful technology. We believe technology is only useful when it serves its users. That's why we set ourselves the mission to provide users with objective and useful data. Every launch promises the best product, the best performance, the best photo or video quality, or the longest autonomy. At DXOMARK, we challenge those claims by testing thoroughly those devices with the exact same rigor, with one objective in mind: empower users to choose the device that objectively best suits their needs. To empower users, we measure the user experience with unique and robust testing methodology, protocols, and ethics based on strong values. Always being agile, we keep track of users' trends as well as anticipate emergent usages to match consumers' most demanding expectations and requirements. In that context, independence is key to our credibility and relevance. It's based on those values that we've designed our websites. On our websites, we're offering users content that empowers them and drives them towards the right product depending on their own needs. Constantly updated with new test results and new functionalities, our website aims to address all consumers, whatever their level of expertise. Each user can find the information they need, from the most simplified information, as on our rankings, to the most precise ones through our test results, bringing detailed technical information. So that everyone can benefit from our data and know-how, we've also recently introduced a label program. With a 3-tier gradation, DXOMARK brings a straightforward indicator, making it even easier for anyone to select the best product depending on their personal requirements on a given product feature. And now, I leave it to Frédéric Guichard, our CEO, to walk you through what you came for.
Thank you, Claire. Aside from serving this mission to consumers, we also set ourselves a mission to the industry, which is to encourage and help OEMs to raise the bar toward excellence. Our mission is to help them to improve the quality of their product for the benefit of the end user. To serve this mission, we rely on 3 main activities. First, we design, build, and sell test equipment and cutting-edge laboratories for assessing image, audio, and display quality, so that the manufacturer and their ecosystem can run their own measurement and test. All major manufacturers have already integrated in their process our image measurement lab. We call it Analyzer. Second, we evaluate smartphones available on the market, and we sell detailed technical test report to the industrial ecosystem for benchmarking purpose. And third, we evaluate smartphone prototype before their launch. We provide the manufacturer with a test report along with in-depth quality analysis, which he can use to further improve the product quality before it touches the market. And just to be clear, if a device is tested and its score published before its launch, it will be retested with a commercial unit. The DXOMARK scores are only the tip of the iceberg. They summarize the product performance on each functionality, and they are the result of 1,000 points of measure and 100 hours of testing and analysis. Our protocol and score aim to reflect the end-user experience. How do we do that? Well, first we identify people's expectations towards their smartphone. We do that in 2 ways. Consumer data analysis collected through usage and attitude survey, user focus group from European, Chinese, Indian, American people to dig further into measure usage, expectation, and pain points. In addition to that, we discuss with the expert to identify emerging technologies that will shape the usage of tomorrow. We get involved with 2 main parties. The industrial ecosystem, since they are themselves working on the integration and the development of new technologies, and professional photographers, audio experts, and so on, since they raise the standard through their professional use, knowledge, and expertise. All of this intelligence combined help us to design protocols that stick to the reality of usage, while also anticipating the emerging trends. Through the unique combination of scientific and perceptual data analysis and protocol we designed and kept updating for 15 years, we have earned the trust of the industry. These scores are the result of unique testing combination of objective measurements that are run in our laboratories and perceptual measurements that reproduce real-life situations and typical use cases. There are three foundations to our protocol updates. We talked earlier about one of them, relevance. To remain relevant to the user, we adjust our protocol to stay up to date with the evolution of consumer usage as well as keeping up with emerging technology trends. In our protocol, that translates into change in the weight of certain usage, additional use case, as well as including new tests for catching up with emerging technology trends. We will see in detail later on how this is applied to our protocols. We have also worked on improving our readability and accessibility. All our protocol will now be on the same scoring scale so that consumers can appreciate the variation in user experience from the same perspective, whatever the protocol. Finally, we are also bringing more consistency and transparency across all our protocols. That translates into two main impacts. The formula use geometric means to reward homogeneous experience and penalize over-optimization in one singular area. The high-level formula go public and therefore will be directly accessible on our website for all our protocols. So now, let's see our protocol and updates, starting with camera, our core and historical expertise.
So hello, I am Hervé from DXOMARK and I am here to discuss about the new protocol that we are launching today, which are Camera V5 and the Selfie V1.5. For the camera, this is the 10th birthday of the first launch of the camera protocol, and this is the 5th version, and we are very proud to provide you more information about this new protocol. At first, here is the Camera V5 scoring system. We are now splitting this protocol into 5 subscores, which are photo, video, zoom, which were already provided last year. And there is now the bokeh and the preview score that are splitted and available for ranking. For the photo, now we have a real point-and-shot default mode score, which is very convenient because this is the more popular use case and the more popular mode into your camera. So you will be able now to sort all your favorites camera with this subscore and scoring system. So we are using systematically the same protocol and the same methodology for each score, which is true for photo, for video, but also for zoom and bokeh and preview. We are providing rigorous lab measurement, but we are also systematically checking real pictures, which means real scenes. Then, in order to avoid any overtuning or any mismatch and to make sure that the final quality on your final device will be the same, we are also systematically producing some random picture in order to make sure that the final score match with the user experience. So this year, based on the user-centric methodology that Fred described in the previous presentation, we decided for the camera to introduce 2 new scoring systems that are focused on use case and user main use case. The first one is the low light. Low light is very important because more than 50% of the people that are using smartphone camera are still a bit disappointed by the quality that is provided for low light. So we think that it was very important to score the camera for low light and to score camera for photo, video, zoom, and all the features that we are testing here in DXOMARK. So low light is provided, but there is another very important use case, which is friends and family, which cover more than 50% of the usage of the smartphone camera. So this year we also introduced this new scoring system, friends and family, which is also scoring photo, video, zoom, and preview and bokeh. In order to provide a good zoom score, we decided also to extend significantly our evaluation of the zoom. We introduced a lot of lab measurement in order to assess more focal. So we will be able to provide more score, more data from the very low light to the bright light condition. And it's true for ultra-wide, but also for the tele part of the zoom. In order to have better measurement, we did also a lot of work on focus group. So we invite a lot of different groups from different cultural heritage in order to define what is acceptable from their point of view, what is rejectable from their point of view. And based on these studies, we were able to translate all our measurement system into a perceptual scoring system that match with the user experience. Here, it's an example of studies we did for target exposure, but in fact we did it for white balance, for color rendering, and for all the key attributes that make a nice picture or a nice video for low light. So in order to provide all this user-centric scoring system, we need also a lot of data. We need a lot of new measurement in the lab, and based on the lab setup we developed that are representing the real usage of the camera, we could introduce some new metrics that are also describing more and more the real experience of the user for various use cases. The first new measurement that we are introducing is a motion blur measurement on moving object, which is able to score each camera on the challenge to freeze the motion. So now we are able to rank and sort the best camera for freezing the motion and provide good quality. Then we are also providing new metrics for portrait quality and especially for texture on facial feature. And we are also we did also a very nice upgrade of our video HDR evaluation. And we are now capable to provide in-depth evaluation of each devices that are providing such kind of feature like the iPhone devices, for example. Here is the top 10 for the camera V5. As you can see, there are some significant changes on the ranking. As we are providing more and more in-depth evaluation, it's true for the low light, for the zoom, but we are also introducing the close-up use case, which is also more and more popular. Based on all these new features, of course, there are some changes in the ranking. For the good news side, the Honor and the Apple devices are winning some points because of the close-up, because of the good contrast capabilities, and because of the friends and family score. These two cameras are freezing the motion and are able to provide very nice quality for friends and family use case. There are some other good news for the Samsung S22 Ultra, for example, which is providing a pretty good quality for low light, especially for the ultra-wide angle, but also for the tele, which means a nice new position in the top 10 of the Camera V5 scoring system. So that's all for the camera main protocol, which is significantly updated this year. There's another camera on smartphone that is more and more popular. This is the selfie camera. We launched in DXOMARK since 2019 another protocol that is dedicated for that use case. And this year, there's no major update on this protocol. We are already covering a very large spectrum of use cases with single pictures, with various distances. We are also evaluating skin tone rendering. We are also making sure that the camera is able to provide nice groovy and so on. So this year, we are still getting the same weighting system with a bit more weight on photo, a bit less on video, even if video is still more and more popular. For the ranking system, it's still the same, so nothing moved on the ranking system except for the dynamic of the score that we upgrade this year in order to have a full compliant scoring system with the other protocol score, which means that the top score will have 144, 145, and the lower score will be below 70. So that's all for the selfie protocol. Let me introduce you to Nicolas that will now present you the audio protocol that was updated significantly this year.
The Peace League met to discuss their plan. The rise to fame of a person takes luck. Screw the round cap on as tight as needed. More bolts can be used to kindle a fire.
Switch tail, let's shine. It's what stands out for the next time.
Hello everyone, I'm Nicolas and I'm going to talk about our audio protocol and focus on the latest features. So, if you've looked at our audio scoring system previously, you probably know that it's based on use cases, and we are further emphasizing this notion in the new release. The scoring system is based on two key scenarios, which are playback and recording. Basically, we evaluate the performance of a smartphone when playing content using the external speakers with different content, music, voice, and so forth. And recording part, basically, what's the quality of the microphones when recording content in a video, in a selfie, and so forth. So we have revised the weights, and you can see here the new weights of the scoring system, which is out today. And this will be available and transparently to our users so that they can actually really precisely understand how we've done the scoring. So what are the new things for the audio scoring system? We still have the 8 use cases that I just showed, but again, we revised a bit the weightings, and we revised the weightings based on a consumer survey that we've done with thousands of people around the world. We've also changed the formula with using a geometric mean so that we have a better discrimination of audio performance for smartphones. And also we focused on key pain points based on our consumer survey. We've identified basically the frustrations that some of our users are facing, and we focused on designing the protocol and the system to evaluate these frustrating points. So to give you some idea about the kind of questions we've asked, basically we've asked, and what happens when you record the content? What are the key things which annoy you? And basically they said things like wind noise is a real problem. So when you are in a windy situation or when you are on the move, the wind actually affects the voice recording or the sound recording. So this is something which is really painful, and there are technologies to actually deal with it. So we wanted to understand how the smartphone makers are handling this feature. And also, it's quite common that when you are recording content and a person which is quite far away, the voice is not clear enough. And so it's important that the so-called audio zoom features work right. You can do zoom. I mean, people are familiar with zoom with images, but you can actually do the very same thing with audio content. Actually, what happens is that the microphones are focusing on a direction and actually records better what comes from a given direction, so that gives more clarity to the content. So these are the two functions we have worked on, and we've designed protocol, systems, equipment, everything to be able to do these measurements. So when you look at audio zoom first, you need basically to measure what's called the directivity. So how directive can be the recording. So we do these tests in an anechoic chamber. That's basically a room which is completely isolated from any sounds. And we look at how the audio zoom works at different positions. And we are looking for clarity basically of the recorded signal. As for wind noise, what we have to do is have a machine that simulates different wind speed. So we have these machines now, and we also reproduce an environment with speakers so that we can exercise the wind noise reduction in an environment when there are noise and a main voice of interest. So these two measurements and new scores will be available, and you will have details about the results of the test. Now, for playback, we've also extended the range of objective measurements that we're doing to better cross-validate the perceptual evaluation. So we've focused on total harmonic distortion with noise, which is a quite state-of-the-art measurement techniques in the industry. And also, importantly, we've measured frequency response for actual content. It's quite common to measure frequency response with synthetic signal like pink noise or white noise, but we wanted to go one step further and actually perform a frequency analysis of an actual music track. And given that, we can have targets and make sure that the device, when they plays the music, is actually reaching the perfect rendition. So overall, with these new features, some weight adjustment, there is some change in the scale, nothing major, but still some adjustment. So basically, the devices which performs well all across the different use cases are being rewarded. And also the wind noise and audio zoom will bring bonus points to some of the device. So here you have the list of the top 10 with the plus and minus, basically how whether they go up or down. This is minor, but still there is some adjustment. So stay tuned, go to the website and check out our new scoring system. It's quite extensive and we're quite pleased with it. Thank you very much, and I hand over to Thibaut, who is going to explain everything about the display scoring system. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Thibaut, Director of the Display Quality Evaluation. The DXOMARK display score has been live since 2020. We've spent 2 years working hard, and up to now, we have tested close to 100 devices. For this new version, we've adjusted the use case weights according to the latest consumer survey. The display protocol is inspired by typical use cases, and because the user experience today is wider than just looking at a screen, our protocol also includes evaluation of touch performances and motion management. Each measurement is adapted from a use case and reproduced in our labs. Our display score is structured along 6 attributes. Readability, accounting for 38% of the overall score, it's how well the smartphone can be read in different lighting conditions. Colors, that accounts for 18% and evaluates colors rendering, again, in different lighting conditions. Our third attribute is video, accounting for 16% of the score, assessing SDR and HDR video quality rendering. Then comes the touch, that accounts for 10% and tells about interactions, meaning display smoothness when browsing and touch accuracy. The motion attribute, which is 8% of the score, show how motion is displayed when playing dynamic content, such as movies or games. And finally, artifact, accounting for 10% of the score, represents the user disturbances related to display, such as flicker or reflectance. In our display evaluation protocol, each smartphone is tested for 5 days. 3 days of objective measurement in our labs and 2 days of perceptual tests. Every smartphone is tested the same way, unplugged and using the factory default settings. In our labs, more than 400 measurements are performed under controlled lighting environments, typically found in our daily labs. We carefully simulate those lighting conditions to evaluate how smartphones adapt to provide the best user experience. Since we need to simulate so many conditions, we develop automated labs requiring as little human operation as possible. Perceptual tests are performed by trained experts in real-life conditions. This approach is essential as it allows us to cross-check with our lab measurements and unveils artifacts that are impossible to detect in a lab. The DXOMARK display protocol is user-centric, based on 4 representative and challenging use cases. It relies on a unique combination of objective labs and perceptual analysis. Let's now take a look at our top 10. Although the ranking hadn't changed, the new formula stretched the scores, increasing performance discrimination between devices. That was all for display. I am now happy to introduce our next speaker, Theo. The floor is yours.
Hello, I am Theo, product owner of the Battery Experience Evaluation. Battery is the latest DXOMARK protocol. It was launched in May last year, which is why we haven't updated it in 2022. So the main changes that we bring today is a rescale of the score to align with other protocols. We already have published close to 100 scores on our website. Our battery protocol brings a comprehensive overview of the overall battery experience, measured against 3 subscores. First subscore, autonomy, accounting for 50% of the global score. Because, as shown in the most recent survey we run amongst thousands of people worldwide, autonomy turned out to be the biggest concern, with only 64% of them satisfied with their battery life. The second subscore, charging, accounts for 33% of the global score. Because whatever your charging rituals, there will always be situations like a business trip or a long weekend when you will have to rely on a quick battery top-up to continue your journey. Finally, the third subscore is efficiency, accounts for 17% of the global score. The measurement is twofold, since it evaluates the efficiency of charging the phone, which is how much energy you need to fill up your battery, and the efficiency during discharge, which is the ability to provide more autonomy on the same battery. Let me just remind you a few fundamentals of our battery protocol. Measuring battery experience at DXOMARK can take up to 150 hours of charging and discharging. First, to measure the out-of-the-box experience, a fully automated typical daily usage scenario is run by our robots in a controlled environment, controlled in terms of Wi-Fi and mobile network. We complete those measurements with real-life mobility tests, where we measure both autonomy and consumption, all with factory default settings. Then, we calibrate all device settings to specific values to compare all smartphones equally and measure the autonomy you can expect in each possible use of a smartphone. Finally, we measure the time and power it takes to charge up the phone, starting from a completely depleted battery. And because you will never wait for the smartphone to power down to charge it, we also measure how much autonomy is recovered through a 5-minute quick charge at different battery levels. Here is the top 10 of our battery ranking. And that's it for battery. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. I hope it was useful. Stay tuned for our upcoming scores. Goodbye.